Most African countries are considered blessed and rich in natural resources but poor according to the UN listing. But what's the cause of this? We're going to talk about a country so blessed with natural resources. Some people consider this country to be the richest country in planet Earth. Some people consider this country to be the richest country in Africa. But what happened to the Democratic Republic of Congo? The Republic of Congo is considered to be the richest country in the world, but cursed with natural resources and abundance due to bad leaders and governance. This is a story of a country that has all it takes to become world power. Blessed with a lot of minerals such as cobalt, Congo is the largest producer of cobalt, which you see in your phone today, which they use in producing battery. The 5th largest producer of copper. Well, if you don't understand what the copper is for, copper is what they use in producing wire and a lot of other things. But Congo is the 5th largest producer of copper in the world, and a lot of minerals such as gold, diamond, lithium, tin, titanium, timber, coffee, rubber, and even crude oil, which is normal, which is what the world economy now is so after them. But if they have all these minerals that are listed, then what's stopping this country from being a developed or a world power? Because in recent times, they even said that the Berlin Conference in the 80s was all about Congo resource. But if you don't know what is Berlin Conference, I'll talk about that in my next video. The Berlin Conference was a conference which was held in Berlin to talk about how the Europeans gathered in Berlin how to share African countries or African resources. But I'll give more light on that topic on my next video. It is reported that the Democratic Republic of Congo have the 2nd largest river in Africa. But according to BBC correspondent, when they came to Congo, they said that this river can power the whole of Africa in electricity.
There are few places on the planet where rivers run as fast and as hard as the Congo does here as it approaches the sea. A hydroelectric power station built here could provide electricity for the whole of Africa. It would produce twice as much power as any other hydro plant on Earth. That is how rich the Congo could be if the resources were put to good use.
The population of DR Congo is estimated 90 million people with different culture and diversity and ethnic group. So you can see how this country is so populated and with different culture and tribe, but live in one harmony. Size of Congo alone is compared to Western Europe. You can see how big this country is. But with such abundance of minerals and resources, why is the citizen of DR Congo not benefiting from this abundance of minerals in this country? But in this video, I'm going to take you back in time to what happened to DR Congo from the colonial period to the 21st century. The first Europeans to come to DR Congo were the Portuguese in the 15th century. They saw a country so rich in natural resources and rich in human resources. And to partake in this slave trade, what they needed to do that, they need a country to be in crisis or in anarchy. So during the crisis of the DR Congo in the 15th and the 16th century, the Portuguese support some of the neighboring community with guns, sending them guns to fight their so that when the country is in crisis, they can either shift out slave and buy out slave from the country. This is what happened during the 15th century when the Portuguese came. The Portuguese was more interested in a slave trade business with DR Congo. During this crisis, millions died. Thousands were shipped to Europe for slavery, but this was not even where the problem started for DR Congo. It all started in the 19th century when a British explorer, Henry Morton Stanley, came, but his reign was cut short by the famous King Leopold of Belgium. This is where everything all gets worse for the Congolese. During the reign of King Leopold of Belgium, now after cutting the reign of the British explorer Henry Morton Stanley, now King Leopold didn't want to run Belgium as a colony but as a private entity, as a private property. The size of Belgium is compared to Western Europe, that is bigger than Western Europe. One person decided that he want to run Belgium as its own property. But during this his reign, King Leopold forced a lot of Belgians were forced to work harder and harder for mineral resources such as rubber. During this period of King Leopold, Congolese citizens were sent to the forest to harvest rubber for the development of King Leopold's own private gain. But don't forget, I told you that King Leopold run Belgium as a private owned state, not a colony. But if it was like a colony, he report to the Belgian government. But he said that this one is his own property. Now during this period, now the trend of rubber was in need in Europe. It was in high demand because this was the period where vehicle and bicycle was in need. During this 18th century, Congolese now were sent to the forest to harvest. Anybody that dare not to go to the forest face severe punishment such as flogging. Their children will be taken away from them. Wife will be taken away from the husband. Sometimes they go as worse as cutting their hands and their leg for not working or obeying the king as of that time. During the reign of King Leopold even denied Congo of schooling and even medical, because during his reign they were not even able to go to school, get medical attention for their need. But the funny thing about this King Leopold reign was that King Leopold ruled Congo for 30 years. After this 30 years, the Belgian government now take over from King Leopold for another 40 years. So you now see a continue of slavery and colonization in this region. Independent in 1960. But the funny thing about this independence in 1960 is that the Belgian government left nobody in the country with any skill to run the system, such as lawyer, doctor, engineer, and even an economist. But there was one famous person, Patrick Lumumba, who now took over as a prime minister as of that time. His reign was cut short due to his assassination by the Western rebels. Some people believe that the Western rebels assassinated him. Some people believe that it was the CIA. After the assassination of Patrick Lumumba, the West now installed another dictatorship, which is Mobutu. Now, Mobutu was paying loyalty to the Western world. Now, during Mobutu reign, ministers stole entire government budget. The Western world allowed him to borrow billions of dollars, which DR Congo is still paying some of those money till today. King Leopold ruled Congo for 30 years. Now, the Belgian government now took over and ruled Congo for another 40 years. Then, the Western world, after the assassination of Patrick Lumumba, now installed another dictatorship to DR Congo, which ruled Congo for another 30 years. So if you sum up this age now, you see that it now sum up to 100 years of colonization and extorting of this country natural resources to the Western world. So if you see where this problem of the country not being developed, you see where it's coming from. The 1997 genocide was another big phase for the country, which was led by the Eastern African country, which was led by Rwanda. This crisis led to the removal of Mobutu from government. But after this crisis, it was another phase for the country. This led to a lot of suffering and child labor for DR Congo. So summary of what I'm trying to say is that if you check from what I am the history of this country, King Leopold ruled Congo for 30 years. Then the Belgian government take over for another 40 years. Then the West now installed another dictatorship for 30 years. If you can see, there's a lot of issues that have happened to this country. First of all, a king ruled a whole country that's compared to Western Europe for 30 years as his own private property. A government now take over. Then they even installed another dictatorship which stole the country but keep the country in actual debt. The country being in a state of anarchy and humanitarian crisis. You can see the country trying to recover from such a bad past to rebuild a new country where they will be proud of.